It's Michael Kosta. This is the Tennis Anyone podcast. Monday, February 3rd. For those of you watching on YouTube, thank you. For those of you leaving ratings and reviews on iTunes and Spotify, thank you. I am at a different location. This is my best option right now with lighting and tripoding. And I thought long and hard about not doing video. But then I said, what about all these YouTubers, man? So thank you for watching. Thank you. Today's podcast, we're going to talk about fresh off of yesterday, aired on the Tennis Channel between 3 and 5 p.m., and it's going to air again on T2, the Servin Up Love charity fundraiser for Asheville, North Carolina, and those affected by Hurricane Helene. It was a great event, so much fun. My ankle held up thanks to Shane, the physio, who was helping, and let me just get weird for a second, helping rub my ankle, move the blood around, open it up. For those of you that are new, 7 days ago, almost exactly 7 days for when I was supposed to serve my first ball with Andre Agassi, Andy Roddick, Jessica Pegula, Emma Navarro, I fell off a curb holding my child and sprained my ankle badly. Was on crutches 6 days ago. So under all circumstances, most circumstances, I would not even consider playing tennis. I've been walking with a limp when I put the crutches away. But come on, when do you get a chance to literally serve up balls with an 8-time Grand Slam champion, Andre Agassi, against world number one, former world number one, U.S. Open champion Andy Roddick, who won something like 32 titles. I mean, it's easy to put Andy Roddick in the single Grand Slam category because that's all he's won. But he was extremely more dominant than just one Grand Slam, if that makes sense. Believe he also lost in 3 Wimbledon finals, which of course don't get talked about as much as his win. But there's a big difference between 0 Grand Slams, me, you, my dog Walter, 1 Grand Slam. But then once you get over 1, it's an all new category also. So that was really, really a lot of fun. Thanks to Shane for taping my ankle twice. Thanks to Jim Curley, former tournament director at the U.S. Open, for organizing it all. We raised over $1 million. It's really sad to see Asheville, how fucked up it got. I feel like the news cycle moved on very quickly. That's not to say there's not other areas that were badly affected. I was very curious to learn Florida had like $1 billion in damage. Georgia had $1 billion in damage from Hurricane Helene. In North Carolina, you want to guess? 60 billion. 60. I was one of those people who would have put Asheville, North Carolina, an excellent, excellent city that performed comedy at many times. I would have put it in the category of one of the benefits of Asheville is that you don't have to deal with natural disasters. Wrong. So really sad to see all these small... And Asheville's one of these towns where small business rules. Cute downtown. They support each other. Community, small coffee shops, art, and just wiped out. And here's why that's important. Those types of... it's harder for them to rebound. That's just like me and you. Rebounding, rebuilding. Should I rebuild? It's not... this is what sucks so bad about COVID was that the giant big corporations that could stomach the loss just got bigger and more powerful. So we raised over $1 million. It was a lot of fun. 5,000 people, 6,000 people. I just posted on Instagram some great pictures. Andre and I played against Andy Roddick and Pete Wentz from Fall Out Boy. We lost. Very disappointing. If I wasn't using my own rackets, I would have cracked it. Made a huge spectacle of it all. But really, really fun to, return Andy's serve and then watch my partner, Andre Agassi, just crush a backhand. And he was very worried about playing tennis. He said, I haven't played in a long time. Just so fun to watch. Looked unbelievable. Emma Navarro and Jessica Pegula, who I didn't get to play with, which is my only real regret and complaint about the event. They are striking the ball cleaner than anybody because Andre and Andy, they're not playing tennis. They're still way better at tennis than all of us, but Emma and Jessica, watching them warm up, just one ball. I mean, they don't miss. It's so clean. When they wanted to step it up, it was a whole new level. I would say that Andy and Andre understand the entertainment portion of an exhibition better than Jesse and Emma do. I would also say they've probably done 1,000 more exhibitions. And, also Emma and Jessica they're more subdued in their energy anyways. But it was a fun mix of people. Also there was Isai Morales, an actor who you know from Ozark and Mission Impossible. Jeff Probst was there, the host of Survivor. Ever since the beginning of Survivor, and also always fascinating to me to see who kind of the people love. And let me tell you, I can host the Daily Show till I'm blue in the face. Nobody gives a shit when you're standing next to the host of the Survivor, which always makes me laugh. Jeff was tremendous, dude, very kind, but we have much different TV shows, don't we? And don't get me wrong, there was a lot of Asheville people that loved the Daily Show and wanted to take pictures, but there's a lineup of people. There's signs, people holding signs that want to talk Survivor. And is that a commentary on our society? Possibly. Am I overlooking it? Possibly. Do politics and the stress of the news wipe people out? Yes. Does a fun competition reality show where people stab each other in the back, but there's no real stakes other than entertainment and somebody gets $1 million. Are those easier to digest? Of course. And let me tell you, Jeff isn't just the host. He's the showrunner. He's in the edit bay. He, kudos to him and also kudos to Mark Burnett's production company who realized a host can also be a showrunner. That's insane. That is insane. If I were to walk up to Daily Show offices and say, hey, I would like to also show run, bye-bye. Bye-bye, Kosta. Survivor's been on for 48 seasons. Unreal. Pete Wentz from Fall Out Boy. A lot of big Fall Out Boy fans were there. It was fun. It was a lot of fun. And then their coach, Christopher Crabb, and I don't know how they all play somewhere in the Tarzana, L.A. area. So they got this amazing boys trip. Isai, Pete, Chris, and Jeff. And they got to come do this celebrity tennis thing. Unreal. Really good guys, really nice guys. Fun to do it, especially coming from L.A., an area that's been so devastated by fires. They drew a lot of comparisons, We need to rebuild. We realize different communities need help. So a lot of fun. We did a little Q&A before the event, which I hosted. It was fun to shuffle the mic around. Andre Agassi gave a tremendous answer when somebody challenged him on pickleball. He's always been such a conscientious, thoughtful, emotional man and player. And his answer about pickleball, basically, he's like, tennis, you gotta chill. Get over this pickleball thing. And he's basically talking to me directly. And how is it bad if people are outside playing? He said, and this is why it was appropriate. He said tennis has always been the Mount Everest of racket sports. Always been the pinnacle. Always been the most elite. But it isn't good to belittle people who are playing racket sports. And it's kind of like what I said when I went to Scottsdale, Arizona. played an hour of pickle, played an hour of tennis. The pickleball players were telling us, get over here, come join us. Let's put some music on. You want to have a drink with us? Much lower barrier of entry. Andre said it perfectly. He said every 10 minutes you get better at pickleball. It's very true. And he also said he's seen communities rebuild through pickleball, which is amazing, which is fantastic. And then, of course, if you don't remember, I went over to the other side to play tennis, and I was told I was being too loud, and your ball keeps coming on our court. And this is the problem with tennis, right? This is the problem with tennis. So I'm not a pickleball convert, but it was nice to hear an elite player, 8-time Grand Slam champion, say, "Hey, tennis, get over it." My only counter to that is I don't like when they take the tennis courts. I don't like when they take the tennis courts. But, yes, skiers didn't like when snowboarders came on the scene. And as someone who has paid for children to get ski lessons, now you have the choice of teaching them to ski or snowboard. And if a kid puts on a snowboard at age 4, guess what he's doing? He's getting on the mountain. He's learning how to ski or snowboard eventually. It's good. It's good for everybody. It's good for business. So I tend to agree mostly with what Andre Agassi said. He also talked about how he's built 130 schools. Did you guys know that? I honestly thought he had one school, and that was the one in Las Vegas. I asked him about his school in Las Vegas, and he kind of looked at me like, "Are you crazy? I have 129 other schools." So that's wild and insane, and he has always been the pinnacle of what an athlete can use their voice for. You don't have to be 100 millionaire and just the Michael Jordan of it all, hide in your mansion and smoke cigars and play golf. You can use all of that attention and power. And by the way, he doesn't love all that comes with celebrity. A lot of kids were screaming his name for a long, long time, and you could tell that wasn't his favorite thing, to sign autographs. I'm sure he's thinking, hey, I'm using all this public image to help kids. But in general, very, very positive, very professional. Thank you, Andre, for including me. Andy Roddick, we've connected previously in much different circumstances. This was great. Really, really enjoyed hanging with him. He was nothing but kind, funny. Everyone knows Andy Roddick's been funny, and was really fun to meet his family. And he has, and I feel comfortable saying this because I've watched him play for so long. He's not the asshole competitor that he was perceived to be when he played. And it's fun to, he's asking me questions about the book. He seemed curious about all of our lives. He treated everybody there as a peer. Very, very nice. And I just have the sense that when he was number one in the world, he maybe wouldn't have been that way, and I wouldn't expect him to. I can't even imagine what it takes to get to that level. And now he's more of a public figure in the sense that he donated his Sunday and his kid's Sunday and his wife's Sunday to come out and raise money. And I strike it as a positive experience between Kosta and Roddick. And maybe someday we'll even get on his podcast, which is very quickly, hate to admit this, very quickly become the standard of tennis podcasts. Most probably because it's the only tennis podcast hosted by a Grand Slam champion that we know of. Renee Stubbs had a pod, doubles champ, but singles. I mean, don't forget, somebody here at the Daily Show office said, who was the last American male to win a Grand Slam? And I had to pause for a second. I said, no way it was Andy Roddick. No way we're going back 2003. It was Andy Roddick. It beat Juan Carlos Ferrero in the U.S. Open final, straight sets. I loved his answer. By the way, he was Andy Roddick, Andre Agassi has been a idol of Andy Roddick's. And as a tennis dork, as someone who loves the sport, it's just so fun to watch Andy Roddick look up to Andre Agassi, and then they're talking. You know what I mean? It's like when I meet my comedy heroes, and it's like, holy shit, we're kind of on the same page right now. At one point during the exhibition, Andre was ripping backhands to Andy, who was slicing backhands. I don't think Andy hit over a backhand yesterday. And somehow Andy won the exchange, and he said, that's literally the first backhand-to-backhand exchange I've won against Andre Agassi. And I just love those types of comments and insight. Roddick is 1-5 against Andre lifetime. He said that he briefly, he said the first time he played him, he was like 17, and he was like his hero, and he couldn't even serve. He was so nervous. And I love those types of insights. I remember Aaron Quickstein once told me a story that he was playing in Key Biscayne, and he was 15, 16, 17 years old, very, very young. His hero was Jimmy Connors. He was playing Jimmy Connors, and they call the match. He gets out to the court. Jimmy is not there. It's very close to the match time, and a fucking helicopter lands next to the court, and Jimmy Connors runs out and beats Aaron Quickstein 0-0 in like 36 minutes. He said he played Connors later again and had better results. But I love it's like when the son is now stronger than the dad, but still can't beat him up. Thankfully, I never had to beat my dad up, but you'd wrestle. And I remember thinking at some point, like, oh, I think I'm stronger than him now, but he still had the upper hand because he made you with his penis. So, positive vibes all around. Thank you, Andy Roddick, for talking to me like a friend and a peer. That was really great. He told a funny story to us about, I asked him, I said, this exhibition was very friendly. Emma and Jesse playing at their high, they were the highest level there. They played singles, and there was a couple drop shots, and there's a couple going through for the throat points, but for the most part, it was very cordial, as I think it should be. And I said to Andy, I heard Ivan Lendl used to like really try to win these things. Like he would try to beat you 2-1 in an exhibition and then get off the court. And he said, yeah, back then it was insane. He goes, those guys were all insane. He said he remembered one time, I'll paraphrase, obviously, and he was at the U.S. Open with Jimmy Connors, and they ran into John McEnroe, and Jimmy Connors and John McEnroe just like stood at facing each other, and they hadn't seen each other in 10 years, and they didn't even say hi to each other. I mean, these are guys who, one of the better sports rivalries, tennis rivalries of all time. Bury the hatchet, fellas. It was a great story. He said that then Andy said, like, hey, man, you need to, you guys have a tremendous history. You're both American. You're both world number ones. And then they ended up going out and hitting for a little bit. Like, they did bury the hatchet, and then the hatchet got unburied. And then they hated each other again. So I noticed this with the LeBron James. He's kind of that first superstar athlete that I'm aware of, that doesn't have to spew hate over his competitors. And I tend to think it's because these new athletes start training together at the age 8, then they go to the McDonald's All-American game, then they all get sponsored by the same shoe company, then they travel overseas together and they play AAU. So they're kind of like, even if they get drafted to different teams, they have a long history together, where I think previously you didn't really meet each other until you were already on your teams, and then you hated each other. I just don't get this. There's much higher camaraderie. I also think it's in some self-preservation that the more you piss off your opponent in tennis, the more motivated they are to beat you. I think that's why they always put the hand up when they hit the net cord. I don't think it's really like, hey, I'm sorry I won the point in a lucky way. They're certainly not sorry. I think it's more like, I'm going to put my hand up to show you that I acknowledge that was lucky, because if I don't do that, you will see this as fuel to kick my ass. Serena often would not apologize. Sometimes she would, but oftentimes she wouldn't. And in a way, I wonder if Andy Murray apologized. I think he would. The reason I mentioned Serena and Andy in the same sentence is I think those are two guys that kind of, those are two competitors that played particularly well with a chip on their shoulder. So in a way, they almost wanted to piss off their opponent. My ankle held up. It held up. I posted a clip on my Instagram. You can see I'm not moving great. Honestly, the worst thing for my ankle was the flights. My ankle felt tremendous after the match. It must have been adrenaline. But I didn't play a lot. I would have loved to have really banged some serves. I would have loved to have really gone toe-to-toe and tried to go toe-to-toe with Andy. A few points, I had no option, but they gave me like really easy sitters. And a couple times I just volleyed it straight to Andy's body so we could get in a fun volley exchange, which, you know, he was tremendous at and understood that's what we were doing. But a few times it was like such an easy ball, I had to put it away. So that happened twice where I kind of hit a winner, mostly on Andy's side, and I just thought I shouldn't have fucking done that. So next point, I'm at net. He's in a long exchange with Andre, which is so fun. To be standing at net, watching Andre's smooth backhand that puts you in a trance to Andy Roddick, it's just so fun. You have such a great front row seat. But Andy takes one to me, kind of a dumpy chop volley, and then I go, here we go. You know, if he really wanted to, he could have taken my head off. But instead, he gave me this very heavy forehand that was kind of coming at my chest. And I remember thinking, like, okay, this isn't like crazy speed. You should be able to handle this. And then right as it got to me, the thing dropped like a fucking Tim Wakefield knuckleball. Okay? And I was nowhere near it. I missed it, point over. And it was funny because I think Andy was like, hey, I'll give you a little something, but I'm not going to like take your head off. And Kosta couldn't handle it. But man, it was fun to just experience that spin, different level. And this is a guy who probably hasn't hit tennis balls in 6 months. You know, I don't know. Here's the bottom line. I love tennis. It's so fun to play. Would have loved to have played more, but also what a silly little thing that tennis can raise $1 million, and the money is going to help rebuild Habitat for Humanity in Asheville, which is totally underwater. The French Broad River just was so overflown with water, and they also had to release the reservoirs, which they described as they released these reservoirs, and there's basically like a 20-foot wall of water just headed to town. And the money goes to help rebuild some tennis courts for I think it's called Asheville Tennis Association. I'm not sure. But it was just a volunteer effort all around. Like the people that picked me up at the airport were volunteering their time. The guy, Bob, who drove me to Charlotte after the match, volunteering his time. Jim Curley told me that some of the suppliers, you know, gave him great deals. The court, the ad banners, the arena, the vendors, you know, everyone was working together to raise money, and it's nice. It's really, really nice that everybody came together to do it. And of course, it's fun. It's fun, but it doesn't just happen automatically. Ton of organizers did it. So thanks for those of you that watched. It is on T2, I think tomorrow or something. I'll keep posting clips when they come in. Takeaways. One, I'm gonna read up more on Andre Agassi's schools. I didn't realize that he had 130 schools. I'm not sure if you did either. Two, I told Andy Roddick to write a book. I said, come on, man, one in the world, U.S. Open. He shook his head. No, he goes, I do my book every week on the podcast, but I would love to read the effort, the grind, the stories, the matchups of that story. Fall Out Boy, I didn't think I knew their music. You do. You do know their music. Isai Morales, I didn't think I saw him act. You've seen him act. You've seen his stuff. He plays kind of the villainous guy, very funny. And then Jeff Probst, Survivor. This is what's so cool from my perspective. I get to interact with these people, and at no point in my life would I be sitting in my house or office and go, hey, I'm going to dig into Fall Out Boy real quick. But no, when you are about to go connect and play tennis with that person, you start digging in. And I'm so thankful I did. So thankful that I learned. Pete's the bassist, but he's also manages the band, runs the band. When does a bassist run shit? They do with Fall Out Boy. And cool to hear how Survivor is shot. They shoot 2 seasons in 2 months in Fiji, and then the rest of the year is basically free for Jeff, even though he show runs, so he's got to edit and cast and do all that shit. But always fun to hear this stuff. He said there's people there right now building a set that they'll use in months or whatever. So very, very cool. Tennis brings people together, much different levels, brings people together. I know the people of Asheville were very supportive and thankful. Thank you guys for coming out. Thank you for the secret liberals who live in North Carolina that said, hey, I love The Daily Show. Hey, I actually watch you. And then they actually say my name. That's nice, because sometimes what happens is when I was in Switzerland, they go, we love you on The Daily Show. We love you. And then I leave and they go, all right, Steve. See you later, Steve. Pete. Well, one guy, I was sitting in the sauna in New York, sweating my balls off, dipping the towel in ice water and wrapping it around my head. It was one of those things. I'm just sweating. Also, I just come from the show, so I had makeup on. So I've got dripping makeup sweat. And I look over, and there's this guy just drenched, much different body type than mine, soaked. And he goes, hey, you're that comedian. And I go, yeah, I am. What are you going to do? Say no and run out of there? No, I'm just doing it. He goes, hey, man, Pete Kosta, right? Yeah, it's Pete Kosta, dude. I was like, you know what? That's all good. He got my last name right. So yeah, big country, you guys. From LA to Western North Carolina to floodplains to blizzards to helicopter crashes. Everyone is experiencing something negative at times. And I forget what Andre said about hope, but he said that it seems like, I forget I wish I would have remembered what he said, but it was something like, it seems like it's not there until a moment of crisis when it arises. And in a weird, strange way, these moments of crises do bring out the best in people. And I think the one takeaway I want as someone who's from Michigan, now lives in Brooklyn, LA fires, I don't tend to think of them as affecting my life too much, other than the place I used to play tennis is ashes and my friends have lost their homes. But, a really day-to-day basis doesn't affect me. Hurricane Helene did not affect me, did not affect my family. The helicopter airplane crash did not affect me. But here's the thing. It does. It affects all of us. Even from the most selfish standpoint, just open your heart and be empathetic and compassionate, because one of those things, tragedies, sadness, will happen to you. But besides that, just know that do care, do pay attention, because we are all connected. And I got to go down to Asheville and receive the positive hope and optimism and energy of people trying to rebuild and recover. But I didn't really feel the negative of watching people's favorite businesses and coffee shops be flooded, and there was deaths and fires, and there was some firemen and women that were out there playing tennis. And by the way, there was a doubles match between the police officers and the firefighters. Hey, take it easy, Asheville. You're going to create another freaking natural disaster. The firefighters won, which always makes me happy. But yeah, it's easy to see the news and go, oh, phew, that's not my area. And also, you can't see the news and cry all day and not get your shit done. But let's all remember we're connected. We are connected, man. As Shane, the therapist, told me as he was rubbing my ankle, hello. You go, hell yeah, this is connected to your back. Hell yeah, this is connected to your brain. It's all a circuit. It's all a circuit. What happens when your ankle hurts is you compensate, and now your back has a problem or something in your neck. It's connected. It's a circuit. LA fires, Asheville, plane, helicopter crash, blizzard, even Canada doesn't care about human-drawn borders. Mexico, it's connected. We're all connected. Think of us as an electrical circuit. One thing affects the other. So care and show compassion and open up. So thank you, Jim Curley, for hosting a great event. Thank you, Asheville. Thank you to my tennis heroes, Andre Agassi, Andy Roddick, Emma Navarro, Jessica Pegula. So fun to watch you practice and play, and thanks for including me in it all. New friends, Jeff Probst, Pete Wentz, Christopher Crabb, Isai Morales. Really, really fun weekend. Forgot to plug my podcast, you fucking idiot. But I did plug the book, Lucky Loser, available now. If you order it now, it'll be on your doorstep March 11th. That's coming around the corner. So thank you to everybody. Game, set, match, Kosta. Please leave a rating and a review. If you like it on YouTube, leave a comment. Love you guys. Game, set, match, Kosta.